Hello everybody, this is Dr. Frank Gomez here on churchtalkradio.com. It is Tuesday as usual, 12 o'clock-ish or so. I have a little technical problem with my music, but that's okay. We don't really need to have that today. So every week I like to come here and bring you some information regarding wellness. It could be so many different things. It could be vitamins, it could be supplements, any kinds of foods. It could be and nothing to do with that. It could be finances, mental health, and every once in a while I'll have an interesting guest on that takes wellness to a different spin, and you know that's always good for making a difference. People get tired of probably hearing me talk all the time, so that works out. Today we're going to talk about the many benefits of milk thistle, which is a vitamin. But before we do that, like we started last week, tip of the week. So I go around and I try to find some interesting information. And this one says, this is one of the best things you can do to improve your health. A new study sheds light on one of the best things you can do to improve your health and possibly avoid some of the leading causes of death in the United States. Global diabetes has more than doubled in the past 30 years. 25.8 million children and adults in the United States, which is about 8.3% of the population, have diabetes. 7 million people have diabetes and don't know it because it's undiagnosed. Now, how they come up with that number, if it's been undiagnosed, I don't know, but I know that 25% of the population does have pre-diabetes. We've talked about that before. So this is an older study back in 2007. I'm sure the numbers have actually increased since then, since diabetes is one of the fastest growing diseases in America right now. So according to the report, American Diabetes Association, the U.S. cost of diabetes grew back from $245 billion, like $250 billion, from 2007 to 2012. A new study published by the Plus One reveals a strong evidence that sugar, yeah, not diet or lifestyle, but sugar is the primary cause of diabetes, all right, type 2 diabetes. We've spoken many times about sugar in the past, so this will kind of confirm a lot of the things that we do speak about. The study research from the University of California, San Francisco, says sugar intake and diabetes from 175 countries. Researchers found that even if you drink a can of soda a day, your likelihood of getting diabetes does increase. Just so you know, like a can of Coke will have 28 grams of sugar, which is about 28 teaspoons of sugar in one can. And if you didn't know, if you ever want to take paint off a car, just take your Coca-Cola and pour it right on there. And the next day, you'll have nice bubbly paint that you can chip off. So can you imagine putting that into your stomach? That's kind of a devastating thing to be drinking, but a lot of people do. And a lot of it, too, because it's everywhere. So we have some more study, another study here. Duration and degree of sugar exposure correlated significantly with the presence of diabetes, and the absence of sugar correlated with significant declines of diabetes. So basically, you know, what they're saying is the research just proves it. You know, and when you're eating too much sugar, your diabetes chances of diabetes developing is greatly improved. And by cutting back on the sugar, that's decreased. It greatly decreases your chances of getting diabetes. And that's just sugar. There's so many other things that you need to do for your health, but if you just did that one thing, that would substantially cut back a lot of the diabetes that we have today. So that's my little tip for getting started today. And as usual, I have a newsletter that's on my website. It's www.totalhealthwellness.com. It is called The Many Benefits of Milk Thistle. Actually, it's called Solarium, which is spelled Silymarin, and Siylmarin, And since most people don't know what that is, I'm just going to call it milk thistle for now, but the silymarin is the active component in the plant known as milk thistle. So milk thistle, I take it myself. It's a really good for your liver, really good for helping regenerate parts of your liver and making it stronger. But it's also good for digestive disorders, digestion. Also has indicated, now I didn't even know this, indicated in various other types of organs like your prostrate, your lungs, central nervous system, kidneys. And kidneys and liver usually go together. If you have a liver problem, you can have a lot of other things, but usually kidneys and liver, they're pretty similar. So, you'll have issues with both of those, pancreas and the skin. So, and it also is a very strong antioxidant, and it's a very strong anti-inflammatory. So, which leads to cellular repair. The less inflammation in your body, the healthier you're going to be. So some of the properties of milk thistle are it reduces inflammation, which is very important. Sugar is also an inflammation-causing substance. So there are some people who come into my office and their whole body is inflamed. You could just see it in their face. They have they have vision issues. They have all kinds of things because sugar is a poison. And don't take it for granted. You buy something, you got to read the labels. Even these quote unquote protein healthy foods have so much sugar in it. They'll say, oh, it only has 2 grams of sugar, but meanwhile it has 10 grams of alcohol, sugar, or sugar alcohol. And they want you to believe that sugar alcohol is not the same. It's pretty much processed the same, but not only that, like we talked last week about bloating, sugar alcohol is a huge cause for stomach bloating. And then bloating, the digestive system breaks down and we have all other complications that we spoke about last week. If you want to go back to churchradio.com, look on last week's talk, and that will help you out with a lot of that. And again, like I said, when your liver goes, a lot of other things are going too. So it acts as an antioxidant, which we talked about. It helps the body for free radicals. Free radicals are things in the atmosphere that attacks our bodies and starts to break down that, and then the liver grows back. That would be cool if we did that everywhere, right? It would kind of be like one of those lizards who grow their tails back. You're unfortunate enough to have your arm chopped off and then it grows back. That would be pretty cool, right? So that's just, I think of that stuff. What can I tell you? And it also reduces the toxic effects to chemical exposures. We're exposed to chemicals every single day. We just talked about the free radicals. That's kind of like a chemical. Drinking tap water. As much as the Long Island tap water is pretty much one of the best waters around, it still has a lot of chemicals that are manually put in there. Chlorine, fluorine, fluoride, all kinds of things like that, which really pollute our bodies and keep them from being as healthy as we can be, and interfere with the functionings of our bodies and make us sick. Sometimes I think that's what the government wants us to be sick. Now I know there's other people out there that believe the same way too. The big pharmaceutical companies, the AMA, the big company AMA, not your local medical doctor. I just want to get that straight, but the big MMA products, and then the politicians are all like, it's like a triangle of death. They want to keep everybody sick, because if you're sick, you're spending money on drugs, you're spending money on medications, you're doing whatever, and the money just kind of circles around. At least that's what I think, and I'm sure a lot of other people think that too. They come and arrest me now. So the rest of the newsletter here are some facts. It's not fiction. I try to look on the web and get some interesting things just to back up some of the things that I do say. So it's kind of a third-party validation. So we got some hepatitis studies. Hepatitis is inflammation, again, of the liver. There are studies that, so I'm just going to read this straight up. Published in the study indicates that 82% of the patients with acute hepatitis who received 140 milligrams of milk thistle 3 times a day for at least 3 weeks showed improvements in the the AST or the SGOT, which is part of one of your liver enzymes in test that we test. So it improved from that. Up to 40% of these patients actually started getting better just from taking this one thing, this one milk thistle vitamin. So that was cool. Conclusions of these trials indicate that therapy with milk thistle reduced complications and reduces duration of hospital stays and recoveries, and it reduced the complications of a lot of the medications that they were taking. And patients with positive biopsies from cirrhosis, the patients who took this milk thistle improved their survival rate by up to 4 years. So they actually lived 4 years longer if they didn't take it. So hepatitis can be helped by this one little vitamin, and that's really cool stuff. Now we have also diabetes and cholesterol. Excessive amounts of LDLs, cholesterol, which is quote-unquote the bad cholesterol, which isn't exactly 100% accurate because we do need it. And what happens is when we're inflamed, this LDL does go up because they tend to think that the LDLs help fight that anti-inflammation in your body. So anyways, let me go back to reading this. Excessive amounts of LDL cholesterol can increase your risk of developing atherosclerosis, right? Plaque buildup. We kind of know that bad cholesterol can do that. In the disease state, inflammation occurs at a cellular level. So inside the cells start to become injured, and arterial walls start to break down. And so foods that actually do that are usually sugar foods, right? We talked about that just a little while ago. So I'm going to name a few things, and you're going to be like, yeah, of course it does. High fructose corn syrup. We did do a talk on high fructose corn syrup back in almost the beginning when I started doing this. That high fructose corn syrup, people think that that's a good thing. It sounds like it's a fruit, right? Fruit sugar, but fructose does come in fruit, but not the fructose corn syrup that you will get as an additive. Your body doesn't even know what to do with that. Once it enters your system, for the most part, it'll store it in fat cells in your body because it's hard to get rid of. It's another one of those poisons that cause inflammation in your body. Soda, enough said with that. Fortified white flour. So what is fortified white flour? It's flour that's been processed to the point where there's nothing of any value to it anymore. So what they do, they just add some vitamins to it. So it says fortified with vitamins. And you would think that's a good thing, but not with all the chemical processing that it's been through. So you got to be careful and kind of really look into what you're reading. Caffeine can cause inflammation. Here's one that people may not know, that corn oil and safflower oil also is not good for us. It can cause inflammation. And soy. Soy is processed and chemicalized and all this. It's just not a good thing to be eating at all. There's soy lecithin in some of the protein products that you have. You got to watch out for. I spoke about soy many times, and quickly, it's a estrogenic, which means it causes the body to produce estrogen, or it changes over into estrogen in your body. And if you're a guy, the least amount of estrogen you have is a good thing. You don't want to have too much estrogen because it starts interfering with your testosterone. And if you're a woman and you're postmenopausal, under natural circumstances, your body starts to decrease the estrogen because you don't need it. And if you start taking a lot of soy, it can increase that, and then it also increases your chances of breast cancer. So stay away from soy. Just make sure you read the labels. Margarine and shortening and hydrogenated fats, all that stuff is just not good. So back to the what I was reading. Milk thistle is an antioxidant properties. We talked about that, and it's the benefits, cardiovascular system, reducing inflammation. It seems to be that's the key to a lot of things, and a lot of information that we have about inflammation is inflammation causes everything. Almost every kind of disease in our body is caused through over-inflammation in our body, which then gets backtracked into a lot of sugar and chemicals that we have. So just keep in mind that along with the beneficial antioxidants and vitamins and a healthy diet and exercise, also is a great thing. Don't rely on this, just taking one thing and expecting it to do it, all this great stuff for you. It takes a while. Also, it's not like a medicine. You just take one thing and, and you're set. All right. And also, and even if there was one thing that you could just take, it's going to take a while because, if you're going to get healthier, it has to work on a cellular level. Now, what do I mean with that? Every day we lose a lot of cells in our body. A lot of them are regenerated, and if they regenerate and you have inflammation, they're going to be sick regenerated. But if you're take care of yourself, you're eating well, you're taking down the inflammation, you're taking your prescribed vitamins. Now, what I mean by prescribed vitamins, instead of just taking vitamins, I can rattle off some things and you can go buy them, but we don't know if that's exactly going to help you specifically. Right? In my office, what we do is we find out exactly what the person needs. Now, how do we do that? We do that by blood tests. Blood tests have been used for many, many years because a lot of problems, a lot of issues and diseases actually show up in the blood before they even have any symptoms of it. So once we get that comprehensive blood work back, then we can formulate a vitamin plan from you, supplement plan, and a specific diet based on what your body needs. So it's like a custom thing. It's like building a house. Instead of building a spec house where you just put it up and you just hope somebody comes in and they like it, you're building a house specifically the way you would like it and fit their needs. So that's what we do in the office. And that's why we get such great results with a lot of different things. People with thyroid issues, people with liver problems, people with diabetes, ADD. A lot of kids with ADD get a lot better once they start getting on the program and mostly changing their diet. ADD has a lot I'm getting off the subject here, but a lot of ADD has to do with the stuff that the kids eat. When they're, even if you're your parent and you're cooking and you're making good food for them, once they're out of the house, they're going to 7-Eleven, they're getting a donut and then they're getting something, a piece of whatever, And one of the jokes I like to make is if I go to 7-Eleven and I pick something up, there's always people in there getting these Slurpees that are like the size of their heads. And that's nuts. There's probably enough sugar in there for the average person for a week, and it's in one little thing. And that's probably not the only thing that they're doing, and that's incorrect. So, what do we got here? Back to his, if you haven't noticed, if you don't really know who I am, my name is Dr. Frank Gomez. I've been a chiropractic physician for 32 years, and I do get off on tangents. But I do eventually get back to where we need to be. Studies have been to determine the effects of milk thistle on patients with type 2 diabetes. Milk thistle is known as an antioxidant property and a glycemic profile in the diabetic patient. One study found significant reductions in the hemoglobin A1C, which is in the fasting blood glucose, and a decrease in enzymes and liver enzymes, LDLs, kind of everything that we just talked about. Just in case you don't remember what a hemoglobin A1C is, if you have type 2 diabetes, and if you have type 1 diabetes, you're always watching not only your glucose levels, but your A1C levels. You can fake a glucose test. If your doctor's telling you, look, you come back here in 3 days, we're going to check your glucose and let me see where you are. All you got to do is eat good for a couple of days, drink a lot of water, and you can go in and you can have a much better glucose level. A1C, on the other hand, is an average, about a 3-month average of all your glucose levels. So you can't fake that. And if those are really high, the chances are you get diabetes. If they're a little high, you're definitely pre-diabetic. A lot of people that come into my office are pre-diabetic, and they have no clue until we do the blood test. So we change their diet, give them the vitamins, and we actually help them prevent becoming diabetic. If you have type 2 diabetes, that's reversible. Almost 100% of the time, that is totally reversible by vitamin supplementation and changing the diet. Okay, we're up to protection against cancer. Again, antioxidant, very strong, very potent milk thistle. Like vitamin E and vitamin C, it fights cellular damaging, and then when your body starts to break down like that, cancer actually can proliferate. believe it or not, once the body starts to break down, because now it gets able to attack the weak cells, and then it could spread. There's a strong preclinical evidence that milk thistle is protective properties for the liver and anti-carcinogenic effects, including inhibition of cancer cell growth in the prostrate skin, breast, and cervical cells. So not only can it prevent the cancer cells from proliferating, because it's keeping your cell membranes very strong. Once they have it, it can inhibit the cancer cells themselves. Now, that's not to say, you're going to say, oh man, should I get my my chemo, or should I take this milk thistle? You got to do what's right for you. So you're going to talk to your doctor about that. I mean, I'm not a medical doctor. I don't know too much about chemo, but I do know that we have patients that have cancer that are on chemo, and the programs that we have them on are facilitating the chemo, and they don't need as much, and they're doing much better on it that way. What else we got here? We got that. Researchers have found that compounds derived from the milk can restrict the tumor's ability to grow new blood cells that they need to survive. So everything needs blood in your body, inside your body, because it carries all kinds of nutrients. Cancer cells, what they do is they divert a lot of the blood flows, and they kind of attach to everything, and so they could absorb all the nutrition that they need, and and actually keep it away from all the other cells that are normally in your body. And milk thistle doesn't allow that. At least that's what this research is saying. So, there's a lot more, than just that. We talked about milk thistle, we talked about the anti-oxidants, we talked about anti-inflammatory things that we have, and it helps the body to regenerate. And but again, we talked about also, don't rely on just one vitamin to take care of everything for you. A comprehensive blood test that we do in the office is very important. My number at the office is 631-991-3492. You can give a call there. You can make an appointment. If you have blood work, then bring it in. There's no charge for a consultation. You come in and we'll just take a look at it. All right. So really, that's about it. And we do have one more thing that I want to get to. So we did our tip of the week. We went through this little information about milk thistle, and that can help with a lot of different things. And one of the other things that I've added to these half-hour talks is inspirational stories for the week. And again, I go through and I try to find some of them. Some of them aren't the newest things, but they're still pretty inspirational. So this one is called Success is 99% Failure. All right. This is one of this person's mottos. So in 1906, the day was November 17th. The place was Hasumuto, Japan. On that day, a baby was born. The person that was born was Soichiro Honda was born that day. He was a baby born that would start to build Honda Motor Company into the giant that it is right now. But it wasn't always smooth sailing, as anything, anytime you have a business, it never is. But in fact, Soichiro Honda got off to a pretty rough start, especially in school. His father was a blacksmith, and he ran a bicycle repair business on the side. He would buy broken down bicycles and fix them and sell them for a cheap price and make a small profit. It's reported that Soichiro was helping his father right from the cradle. So I guess when he was really small, he was fixing bicycles. He was intelligent. He wanted nothing to do with school, however, and his grades reflected that. At his school, all the students were given grade reports that, like report cards, and he had to get them stamped and bring them back to school. Well, he didn't want his parents to see how bad he did, so what he did is he make his own stamp out of tires, and he whittled them out, and he stamped his own reports, and so everything was good in his little world until he started doing it for his friends, making these stamps from the family. I mean, I guess everybody had their own brand, or what you want to call it. So he made these stamps for all his friends, and that's when he got caught, because the stamp for his family was actually symmetrical. So it didn't matter, one side or the other, how he made it. His friends' stamps, however, were not symmetrical. So when he stamped them, they came out backwards. The teachers finally figured that out, and then that's when he got into some really hot water. His father was upset, he got punished, and that's how that kind of came to an end, but there was a twist. His father wasn't really upset, it says here, because he made the stamps. He was upset that he did not the mirror imaging on the stamps correctly, so he got punished actually for that. So this lesson and others stuck into Soshiro's mind about being very detail-oriented, which helped him. So, and as he's grown up and his failures mounted up, he learned, right? And he created this piston ring that nobody had it. He devoted his entire life to accomplishing this goal. He invested all his money, and even failures have, like, even all the greats. Failure isn't failure unless you don't learn anything. And the more failures have, the faster you're going to succeed, because failures are stepping stones to success. So that's about all we have for today. I just want to reiterate, my name is Dr. Frank Gomez. Total Health Wellness Center is in Sayville on Sunrise Highway. My number there is 631-991-3492. If you have any questions about milk thistle or any other issues that you might be having, if you have some high cholesterol, if you have diabetes, if you have whatnot, call the office, make an appointment. I'd be happy, they'll be happy to schedule, a little time where we can sit down and talk and see what's on your mind, and we can offer you some help. So with that, we're going to sign off. Have a great week, and God bless, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.